said he was qualified, so he whooped his ass, while he was in there. Now, the other stuff that happened, it went down the way it did, man.
I would like to wish you all the Brits go fuck yourself.
Welcome back to Grey Talks Wrestling. We're going back in time again. We went through 89, now it's time to do 1990, and we kick it off with a bang, of course, with the Royal Rumble 1990. Big fan of the Royal Rumbles, always have been, always will be, always hold a special place in this old wrestling fan's heart. This was one of the first ever Rumbles I watched, if I remember correctly. And going back, yeah, there was some nostalgia to it, but if I take off those nostalgia tinted glasses for a second, I've got to admit this show was kind of boring. Kind of predictable was the old Royal Rumble itself. I saw no point in it, the winner. We'll get to that in a bit though. Let's just talk about the undercard, because the undercard was underwhelming. Bushwhackers versus the Rougeaus kicked off the show. Gotta say R.I.P. to Butch of the Bushwhackers, recently passed. Sad to see another legend go. It's another part of my childhood that's just never coming back. The Bushwhackers defeated the Rougeaus. Now the Rougeaus for me were underrated. I never really got a chance, I felt, in the WWF. Never really got the chance to show what they could do. And that's a shame for me. They're losing here against the Bushwhackers, who were just a comedy act. But how over were the Bushwhackers? So over back in the day. As soon as that music hit, people started doing their dance. Everyone loved them. If you go back now, look at them. Look how over they are. As soon as their music hit the pop. You don't see that for comedy tag teams these days. Nobody cares about them. It's just a different era where the fans appreciated more, I suppose. Next match was another brutal one, really. Brutus Barber Beefcake versus The Genius. Leaping Lanny Poffo, again R.I.P. Only recently passed. It's more and more, every match nearly, you're seeing someone who's passed away. It's kind of sad going back and realising that this is the way it's gone. But this match, let's talk about the match, was okay. Genius was very talented. Never really got the credit he deserved. Never really got to show what he could actually do before he became the Genius. If you go watch his stuff in Mid-South as Leaping Lanny Poffo, you'd be quite impressed. Yeah, he was always just Randy Savage's brother. Never really got a chance to show what he could actually do. I think that the Genius here was probably the highest point he got, really, was a match on the Royal Rumble. Never really hit any more heights than that. Became more of a manager after this. This was an okay match, I suppose. Passable. Beefcake and Genius ends in a double DQ. Beefcake ends up cutting Genius's hair. Perfect comes out, attacks him and Beefcake with a chair. And those two just saunter off into the night, basically. We see Perfect later on in the main event, in the Rumble. Next is a very boring match, I've got to say. One of the most boring feuds of all time. Rugged Ronnie Garvin versus Greg the Hammer Valentine in a submission match. This was just brutal. One thing I did love was Greg Valentine's shin guard. You don't see anyone doing that, like that sort of shit today. That'd be kind of cool if someone brought that back in, I feel. But yeah, it was what it was. Then we move on to Duggan versus the Boss Man. I loved Big Boss Man, like, as a heel. Thought he lost something when he became a face. Here was okay, it was decent. Duggan versus Boss Man, 2x4 versus Nightstick. And it ended in a double DQ. Oh no, Boss Man got disqualified. Sorry, very sorry. Boss Man got himself DQ. Duggan gets the win. And we move to the Royal Rumble. This was a decent Royal Rumble. My only problem was the person who won it. Why did he need to win it? He was already the world champion. What, he needed to get more over? There wasn't anyone else on this show you could have thought, I don't know, could have put them over a bit by knocking out Hogan. But no, Hulk Hogan wins the match. The highlight of this was him and the Ultimate Warrior coming face to face, which builds towards WrestleMania. But there are so many people in this match that could have done with winning this and would have boosted them, like most notably, possibly, I don't know, Earthquake. Quite new to the company. Going to go on to a feud with Hogan at some point. This would have been the perfect opportunity to put him over. Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect. Like two guys that are trying to build up still. Like Rick Rude was the Intercontinental Champion, and this could have boosted him and slingshotted him into the world title feud, into that picture against Hogan at some point. But no. Wasn't to be. Like, there are others you could say that maybe could have had a go. The rest, pretty much jobbers in this match, like Hercules, Barbarian, Honky Tonk Man. You know they're not winning it. Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart were just too young. Andre the Giant way past his best. Dusty Rhodes possibly, but he was more of a joke character really. Roddy Piper, hardly ever saw him. Randy Savage, possible, but you know, it was all down. It had to be Hogan, didn't it? Because he needed that win. He needed the Rumble win. He wasn't quite over enough yet. Just didn't make sense going back and watching it now and thinking about it. Yeah, I loved Hogan when I was a kid, but now it just doesn't feel right that he won that. They could have done so much more with it. This could have been the perfect opportunity for the Warrior to eliminate Hogan. That would have meant so much more heading into the WrestleMania match. So much more if Warrior had won this instead of Hogan. Probably the perfect person to have won it probably would have been the Ultimate Warrior. If you were thinking of building him up to face Hogan, this was the perfect opportunity to do something. But they didn't. They gave it to Hogan. Kind of a letdown in my opinion. Like the show was overall, really. Like I'm saying, tinted glasses, nostalgia does that to you. Makes you think these shows were better than they actually were. Anyway, let me know what you thought about the Royal Rumble 1990 and who would you have picked to have won that match. Let me know down below because I really want to know.